Summed up in 3 words.
Eventful.
Yeah.
Claustrophobic.
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 Yeah.
And eventful.
Was that the first word?
Twice. A lot of things happened. Really eventful year.
I don't know if you meant that or not.
I did.
Fair enough. Nice. Okay.
What's your 3 words? Go on. Go.
Fucking never again.
Okay.
I'd say. Just nice and simple.
Simple.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of things happened.
Exactly. A lot of things did happen.
A lot to digest, really. More so than, even if it's just coronavirus, it wasn't just that, was it? How many episodes are we doing? About?
Well, we're doing 1 every 2 weeks. So, what's half of 52?
26. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's maths your strong point.
Maths is my strong point.
Yeah, roughly 26. Maybe when it hits March, maybe a few more stories. Because a lot happened in that bit.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Sorted.
Anyways, this is
the first time we're doing this.
Yes.
We will get better.
But this is the Rewind, Remember, Reflect podcast, where we will go over events from 2020 and just see how they impacted us and everyone.
Yeah. Can I just say, him saying Rewind, Remember, Reflect then was one of the first times I've heard him do it correctly.
I had to look at the board. Which one did they went to?
Right, let's just play the fucking intro. So, we've spoken already about how 2020 was just so crazy and chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to say first, I don't know if I've said this to you, but the Times, the heading of the Times going into the new year on the 1st of January was, and I quote, "Britain sees in New Year on a wave of optimism."
Yeah.
Which, not their fault, they didn't know, but crazy that 2020 was meant to be the year for a lot of things and the start of a new decade of just hope and revival. And then, not having it.
I remember when Boris Johnson came on there and did his speech at the beginning of 2020 as well. And he was like, it's going to be a year, a great 2020s, it's going to be it. No.
And I'm going to be honest, he is one of the people who is not going to come off well in this podcast. I mean, he's not watching.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have quite a few shout-outs, but...
Speaking of shout-outs, we do need to thank some people for making this happen, because it's not just us. So first of all, we're in I forgot what camera I was looking at then. First of all, we're in a lovely space provided by a company called Artswell, and I'm going to read from them. It says, Artswell champions the role of the arts and creativity in promoting health and well-being. It works with organisations, large and small, to develop projects and programmes that respond to identified needs. So, it's a lovely charity, it's a lovely organisation, and I think we all agree on that health and well-being is very, very important. I think that's probably been
100%.
It's been amplified even so this year. We also have to thank a man called Teague, who did that lovely, lovely intro. Big fan of that song. Lovely that he wrote that before. He didn't write that just for us. He wrote that on his own. It's on Spotify, it's on YouTube. I implore you to listen to the rest of his stuff, and hopefully he's got some more stuff coming out soon. But thank you for that. We also have to thank for these lovely things all over the place. A lovely girl called Libby designed this logo for us in all the words. At some point we'll reveal what I did. I'm no designer. It was shit.
You went for a very dark colour palette, didn't you?
It was black and red,
Yeah.
like a horror film. I think that's thanks to everyone.
That's everyone.
That is it.
So far.
Right, well, let's get into episode 1. So, as I said a minute ago, you think a podcast talking about a year would ease in nice and gently, but 2020 didn't do that. It started off with some fires.
I mean, it was continuing from 2019.
Yes, it was. Yeah, we do have to make that clear. It did start.
It just happened dead on New Year's Day.
First, bang, immediately. We so got some fires, and we have there was a hint, just a little sprinkling of World War III
You know,
that was worrying.
it's got to happen, hasn't it?
So we're going to talk about that later, but we would like to introduce our first guest. So here we have Caitlin.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You're our first guest.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it is
Nervous?
exciting times. This is all of us because we haven't done an
And
episode before. So this is the first thing. Yeah, we've never done
First
it.
time we've all kind of done of this kind of style.
Could be awful. This could be the only episode.
Honestly, one
Don't
hit
say
wonder.
that.
It could be just one episode, one little, and that's it. But no, hopefully not. But you're here to mainly talk about the fires in Australia. So if you would like to tell us why were you there? What were you doing?
You know, it's really funny you say that 2020 was like, oh, this is going to be our year. Because I'm not even joking that, like, 2019 and maybe a couple of years before that, I was having a bit of a shit time, you know. And I was just like, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to quit my job, use all of my savings. I know I'm older than the whole, like, kind of 18 travelling sort of stage, but I was just like, screw it, I'm just going to just do it now, book my tickets. So I did that all in 2019, thinking, this is the year, new decade, new everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know. I was such a sucker for that whole trope of 2020. And then, yeah, I didn't even know if I was even going to land in Australia.
Go on. So,
Yeah, we left the UK on the 6th of January.
okay.
And we actually went to Taipei first for a couple of days,
Okay.
which in itself was quite interesting. But yeah, and then we landed in Australia about the 12th of January.
Okay.
But yeah, there was a lot of worry that we weren't even going to be able to get on our flight because a lot of them cancelled because of the smoke,
Yeah.
amongst other things. And obviously, coming to the end of 2019, I was terrified that I was even doing this anyway. But I also have been like religiously reading the news about what the state of the fires were, thinking, oh my god,
Yeah.
how, like, I've just risked everything, quit my job and spent all this money, and now it's just, I mean, that's a very selfish take on it, but I was in that mindset at that time, you know, thinking, but oh my god, like, just keeping up with the news on it was just awful, just totally awful. So, but, you know, I got there, and what an amazing place it is. I mean, even though it was devastated by it in so many ways, like beyond the fires, like the economy, the wildlife, so many ways. It was an amazing experience. So.
Okay, cool. So, and you were doing some sort of art projects out there, would I call it that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, I kind of went into it, I went over there naturally bringing all my watercolours with me and a couple of sketchbooks and my pen pencil case, thinking I'm going to just travel and sketch, because there's so many amazing sketchbooks out there of famous travellers and artists who've done, you know, just taken a sketchbook and just done some painting while you're there. And actually it really does make you kind of look at where you're at a lot more closely, you know. I think, like, once you take a picture, it's such a 2-second thing, and it's obviously the camera kind of doing the work to take the photo, but if you sit down and paint it, I've got such vivid memories of places now just because I've sat there and, like, looked at it for a while.
So ingrained in your head more.
Yeah.
'Cause I get the feeling when you take a photo of something, when you're like going on a holiday or something, you look back at the photo, the camera never does it justice.
No.
It never does
No.
it. You show people, like, oh, it looked better than that. Like, it looked way better than that. Yeah.
Totally.
Was the art, like, going over to do art the main reason you went, or was it like the travelling, or?
At risk of sounding like, as you said, an 18-year-old sort of gap year sort of experience.
You know what? I met some amazing 18-year-olds, and I completely brought that statement back on myself, because I thought, you know, and maybe me and my friend both went. She's older than me, so we met people that were older than us. Like, we just kind of thought, oh god, we're going into it, it's going to be lots of 18-year-olds who are at a completely different point in life than us. But we met some amazing people, so that was awesome. But it was more just that I'd got very fed up with a lot of things. Cornwall's very, it can be quite isolating at points. Like, some of my closest friends live in Oxford, and I just thought, I've never done the travelling thing,
Mm.
and I'm already like getting into that point of getting into a career style of work.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it now, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. there's
You
always
know?
that thought, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought I'll do it, and I knew I was going to paint well at the same time, but I wish I had could say that it was some kind of, you know, I'm going to do an amazing project. It's going to be some life-changing, you know, that this is the work of my 20s, but no, I kind of just did it for the joy of it, and
Nice.
Yeah.
just because you can, really.
Yeah.
And now I've got these lovely little sketchbooks that I really treasure. So I've got a million photos, but you know, I'd trade them any day for those, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so you mentioned at the beginning about how you were looking at the news quite a lot before you went out with the Australian fires, because obviously they were happening quite beforehand as well. But when you landed in Australia, were they as big as you'd read in the newspaper? Because me and Richard were talking earlier of, did the newspapers blow these fires out of proportion? And so this is the main reason we kind of got you on to talk about this story as well, is like from a first-hand perspective, how much did the fires change your experience of being in Australia?
I would say that the papers did not blow it out of proportion, even though I didn't have kind of first-hand experience of, you know, standing there and there was a forest on fire right in front of me. I never had that.
Very offensive.
Yeah. But there was so many occasions where I would speak to Australians who would just be looking across, we would be somewhere high, up a hill, and they would be telling us about the landscape, and you can hear it in their voice almost, because they would say, oh, we're used to fires, obviously the trees are designed for bushfires and things, but we've never seen anything like that, and we grew up here, we've never seen fires like that in our entire lives. This has just been unbelievable. And a massive consequence as well is, it was a funny time for us to do what we did, because there was virtually no tourism or tourists there compared to there should have been, you know?
Apparently, there was a big decrease in the tourists. 'Cause
Massive.
My brother was out there about the same time on tour doing a show, and he said something to me. He said that the rolling news was just constant. That map that we all saw of just where the fires were with heat signatures. He said it was not blown out of proportion, but he said there was, from Australian news, there's a bit of misunderstanding as to how isolated these fires were. These fires weren't actually in cities. They
weren't.
Yeah.
No.
And he thought that British public, because we're not the brightest bunch.
That's my GCSEs, thank you very much.
I'm sure the level of stupidity within the British public will be more apparent in later episodes. But yeah, he said that it was not, not, as I said, not blown out of proportion, but more, there was not enough information for people, and people thought Australia was on fire. It was, but people need to realise that Australia, most of it is just nothing. People don't live all over Australia.
Yeah, you're completely right. The fires didn't have too much of an effect on cities and things like that. It was mostly, the Blue Mountains were affected as well. And further up north, because that's when it gets hot as well. Sydney is hot, but it's not hot
we're in Cornwall, so compared to
it's hot. It still has a climate to a degree, whereas you go up, and that's where it's just hot, you know,
humid as well, and that's how bushfires start, is that sort of environment.
Yeah, completely.
Because they normally happen every year anyway, around August time, but they just didn't see how big it was going to become this year.
And I think a massive thing as well is, like I say, they're used to fires. And I went to several places which were outside of the cities that were affected by fires. I went to one place called St. Stephen's. It's about an hour outside of Sydney. It was still very green because it just was on the edge, but they really had to drill it into us, these kind of like, if a fire happens, this is what's going to happen. Like, you know, this is where the point you go. This is where blah blah blah.
Precautions,
Yeah, and they were like, we have to teach you this anyway, but this year, like, it could very.
Because fires more than any other like natural disaster can move
So
terrifyingly
quick.
quickly.
Yeah.
Never ever had experience of that sort of
Just a
thing.
slight increase of wind, and it's just.
I think that was a massive thing for this one as well. Is that it was so windy as well as hot. There was just everything against. You know.
Yeah, you speak about obviously like they didn't think it would get this bad. I mean, some people did, but I think there's a little problem with the government over there. I don't know how much it was reported on, but the Prime Minister, as much as he says he isn't, he's also not watching. But he's a bit of a climate change denier.
Yeah.
And his entire government just don't take notice of it. I don't know if that was reported over there much.
He was in Hawaii while the fires were happening.
Of course he was, yeah.
So he was on holiday.
I haven't done zero research on it. Is his name Scott Morrison?
Yes, Scott Morrison. And I just remember being there and oh my god, that's like a swear word. Like you walk about and you like, well, you know, it would be very rare for anyone to actually be pro him with that happening, just because his reaction was so completely inactive. Like there was just no reaction to it at all. He was just off away. And I mean, I just think like they kind of, I wouldn't say they knew this was going to happen, but up until that point in terms of drought, they had had 38 days worth of rainfall in 4 years. So, like, you know, I feel like that has been building up for a long time. And this guy goes to Hawaii and stays there. Like, there's no, like, urgency to come home. When I went there in January, in a lot of ways, the fires were kind of coming to a point where they were starting to quieten down. I don't know if that's...
They were being controlled.
Yeah, they were controlled, and the worst of what had happened had kind of subsided. And he was still in Hawaii.
Because if these fires, is it going to be a repeat next summer?
I mean, I completely see what you're saying. I think the only reason there won't be is because it's been so devastated that there is nothing to burn now. It's going to take a while to grow back, but it will happen eventually again. Yeah, and the fact that these trees are actually, it's part of their natural life cycle to burn. Like, this is part of the natural, like, environment of Australia. To say to remove them to then, and prevent fires from happening is like, well, these trees, the pods actually, this is fascinating, some tree pods don't release their seeds until they're on fire. Like they actually burn, and that's when they release their pods. So it's completely reliant on these forest fires to happen. So to just think that eradicating the trees is just like forest genocide in Australia.
It's a natural thing. So to have it altered by man is just...
So we just got to remember all these trees as well. They're home to all these animals.
Oh yeah,
as well that are out there. Like obviously these animals as well have been devastated by these fires. I remember where I read it was like 35% of the koala population died because of these fires.
Yeah,
massive.
Koala being one of the like animals that you associate with Australia.
Yeah,
just to have that.
The devastation of that, them dying. There was like 3 million other animals died as well.
3 billion.
3 billion.
3 billion. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
The koalas as well. I think they went from being okay to suddenly on the verge of being like an endangered, or I think they did become an endangered species purely just from one event. Like that normally, I mean, I think they were kind of, the thing with koalas, oh my god, I love, like I just grew such a love for them. Like I think everyone's like, oh, you know, kangaroos are the animal of Australia, but like I won't lie, like kangaroos are assholes. They're not the one. Koalas are just amazing, but they're just so... They're a bit like so ill-adapted to anything apart from sitting and eating eucalyptus. They are not built for anything else. They can't run, they can't move quick, they can't eat anything else.
I've never seen one that's not up a tree. I've never seen one just like, do they I've never seen
I've
them
seen
crawl.
some like crawl
Yeah.
flat on the floor.
Oh yeah, they crawled. I didn't think they just walked on 2 feet.
Just like rolled around.
It's an incredible image. I wouldn't put it past them rolling as their main. I just
That would be hilarious.
cannot be bothered. They're just like, yeah,
I'd love them more.
But bother sending me loads of photos of koalas and loads of videos. And I couldn't see them because they're so still and not doing anything. I was like, well, I don't understand. And then like a head would move. Oh, there it is. Not the most exciting, but yeah, they do. That's
Yeah,
so cute.
I think they're just kind of cute and innocent little creatures, aren't they?
I went to a koala hospital on the way to the Blue Mountains.
Koala hospital.
Oh my, don't even get me started, I'll start crying. But no.
This place.
They're just gorgeous. But like we walked around and this is a genuine hospital. Like it's all done on like funds, and a lot of them were closed off from our view because they said that these koalas are completely wild animals and the sight of us is terrifying. So, they kind of put them first.
Yeah.
But we were able to walk around and learn about them, and the ones that were okay to be around people who were affected by the fires, it's just really sad. It's just so sad. And they were just like, we've never had an influx like it of patients into the koala hospital. I know.
I was so sad that it's all I can't get out of my head.
All you can see is like a little koala there with a little band-aid.
Oh, don't! I'm Mr. Bump.
I'm just picturing a waiting room.
Yeah.
Just 10 koalas
Just sat there.
Don't!
just waiting. Just waiting to see an appointment.
Oh, obviously, like, the poor things as well, like with chlamydia as well, like that is... When I say that koalas are so, like, designed for anything, they truly are, like, things like chlamydia and stuff as well, like, apparently they transmit it to each other because one koala will be up in a tree, one will be, like, at the root, and they'll, like, just wee on each other, and, like, various other ways of...
When you said chlamydia, I went, what are we talking about?
Oh, yeah, do you not know this?
No, I had.
You don't know this? Yeah,
I
yeah.
had no clue. That's why even you were like nodding your head, and I was like, what are you talking
Okay,
about?
I'm sorry, I didn't realise I needed to give context. Obviously, why would I not?
Lessons with Richard.
Right, there's no, surely, I'm not the only person.
No, I mean, I think like it's one of those odd facts that people pull out at Christmas parties. Like, did you know?
If that came out at a Christmas cracker in front of my grandma, I would be traumatized.
January for me was, I saw the news of it, but I was victim to like, it's far away from us, so it doesn't affect us.
Completely.
Which is not the right way of thinking.
It's because we are seen as on the opposite side of Australia of the world.
Mm.
But it's like here I've got like even the smoke travelled so far across the Pacific Ocean, it like reached Chile, it reached Argentina.
Mm.
It was suddenly coming into South America.
Yeah.
And so it suddenly started not just affecting Australia anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, was the smoke and fog like visible when you were in the cities and stuff like?
I was at a surf camp at Giroa, and it's about an hour outside of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the spots that I sat and did some painting actually,
Oh, cool.
and it was just a nice overcast day. And when you're in that,
You sat there.
Well, you can't see it. There's a ledge.
Oh, okay.
It's a slight ledge. You can kind of see it in the first.
Got very
place.
sad into my head.
I'm just sat in the lake with my
Yeah.
paints, my watercolours going over. No, but that was like I think the biggest moment while I was there for me personally was that I was sat completely on my own, just in complete solitude, just painting, just having the wildlife about. Because I'm that kind of person. I can't just have so much noise, and I have to have my introverted moments to just go off and be for a bit. And it was just this beautiful, slightly overcast day, so it wasn't too hot to just sit there and do it. And then in the hour I sat there, just this wave of heat hits you, and suddenly, like, the smell of it was just burning your nostrils and your throat, and your eyes, oh my god, my eyes were just streaming in the space of like a second, and then suddenly it just grew orange.
You know, say you got the sepia filter.
I generally think you just on Instagram and just put a filter on.
No, literally, they're the same spot,
Yeah.
and yes, the tide's slightly gone out within that hour, but
it didn't evaporate that much. But
it's just like it just
different day.
completely
Looks like a
just
different day.
smoke
Crazy.
out of nowhere.
You can see if you look at the trees right at the back, you can see the haze of haze of smoke. Well, yeah, my brother said that he was staying in hotels and he would open the curtains, and it would just be pink sky and smoke. He was quite high up in the hotel, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that very misleading though. Those images of that red and pink sky, because that's not fire. That's just the sun coming through the clouds.
Yeah.
And I feel like those images, when they get put on BBC, people look and go, "Oh, that fires are massive." Like, that's not what's happening. But yeah, still, that's amazing.
I had like so much fun because I wrote 2 diaries while I was over there as well, like 2 fat diaries, and I was reading through them all. And I'm not a writer, honestly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff I read, like, was reading, because I was just like, maybe there's some interesting bits of information in there. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my god, what was I doing in like all of this? But so it was fun to reflect and like look back over all these and stuff.
Cool. Wow.
Well, I gave one of them away to a surfer, so it's not a complete collection anymore. Shout out to the surfer in Australia who's got one of my pictures.
That sounds like the idea was a surfer. That sounds like you gave it to him, like, remember me. When you
summer romance.
I mean, not really, but it was just one of those fun things that, like, I gave him one of those, and I think I was shortchanged because he gave me a feather. But anyway, I still have that feather, and it's fine. You know what? I was just like, this is fun.
Amazing. So these are, the medium is pen and...
Yeah, pen and watercolour. I think there's one graphite in there that I actually gave up using because it's not a medium you want to travel with. As you'll probably see in that one, it's just a blurred mess because in that book.
Oh, in this book, see, I was going to say.
There's a picture that's like in graphite and it's all just like poo now, like just blood, like bled into all sorts. That one. If you flip it up, it doesn't. No. If you flip the page up like it's got like a flap just to keep it from.
I see.
Yeah, you see, it's like So I gave up on
that. We won't show that one on camera.
But yeah, I the amount of people that would come across me doing it and be like, what an awesome thing to do. I wish I could do that.
I so wish I could like paint or draw.
Well, I think it's just a nice way of recording your memories.
We come back to England, and what was happening around this time was Megxit.
I didn't hear too much of the word being called Megxit.
I heard it everywhere. Literally headlines, newspapers. Megxit.
Because
Brexit was happening at the same time.
Was it?
It was quick.
It's always fucking happening.
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
Oh, it's been 4 years.
4 years. I have a funny relationship with that story because, I think I was so completely self-absorbed in what I was doing and drunk all the time and just having the best time traveling. And then I was like, oh, there's stuff happening at home.
Yeah.
No reason to be thinking about home.
I mean, whatever. But I had the strangest experience of leaving Manly and we were on a train and there were an Indian family who had just come off a cruise and we were just talking to each other and she just sit next to me, was just like, oh, you're from the UK. We're from India. And we were just like, oh, great. How was your cruise? They were telling us about the cruise. And they were like, oh, so, as you're British, what do you think of Meghan Markle? And she just looked me dead and I was just ready for all the juicy gossip. And I was just like, what?
The guy just laid down now that obviously Meghan Markle was in Suits. And my girlfriend Emma watches Suits. As much as she'll defend her, Meghan Markle is shit at acting. She is fucking awful. Doesn't mean she's not a nice person, from what I've seen.
I just saw nothing wrong there. I honestly think what people are more afraid of is that she's going to be another Diana. A strong, independent woman.
Heck.
Yeah.
Throw that down.
I think...
God forbid those in the royal family.
I imagine. But... I think it's mainly with the older generation as well. I think it was a lot of the fact that they
Yeah.
They saw Meghan come into his royal family all of a sudden and then just take Harry. And they just all assumed it was Meghan's plan.
And it's all to cover up racism,
100%.
racism as well. Like completely, they're like, oh, it's because of her. You know, her family's so messed up, and because she's so outspoken, and Harry's so under the thumb. It's like you're racist.
So you saw the comparisons between like her and Kate. I mean, Kate is just the whitest wet flannel I've ever seen. She's also not watching, but she is just so. Oh god, just so boring. Like at least Meghan's got some sort of. She's got a bit of personality. God forbid it doesn't come through in her acting, but I'm not letting it go.
And you know what? The royal family is so damn broken anyway. How dare you comment on her her family situations when the royal family are so messed up?
Yeah, it's not times I saw her father being brought into situations.
Exactly.
I didn't even
get out.
I didn't even. Harry said like. I've got it here. It says I lost my mother, and now I watch my wife fall victim to the same powerful forces. Like you can't not feel sympathetic.
That's exactly what I seen that interview. I exactly pictured her just when Diana did her interview.
Yeah.
I just saw them both just mirror each other, and it's like Harry had this now moment with his mother, and now his moment with his wife, and just. Yeah. I think it just shows a lot from her point of view as well. She could have easily have just gone, "This isn't for me."
Yeah.
Just stood down and gone, and he's willing to give up his entire life for her, which shows a lot.
So, what else massive that happened? That's an awful sentence. What else that happened?
Something that happened this time last year.
But it was on the edge of...
Which was around the 3rd to like the 7th of January was... Yeah.
Can't pronounce his name. I think it's Qassem Soleimani.
It's assassination.
Yes, on the 3rd of January there was a drone strike that killed this Iranian general. The second most powerful man in Iran at the time, second to the supreme leader. What I've gleaned from it, the first thing that's been bewildering for me, is that the reason for doing this was sort of non-existent.
I can't speak for Donald Trump himself, but
please don't. Please don't.
If he woke up one day and was like, you know what, I've got a bad feeling about this guy.
Yeah.
You thought he'd like have a chat with some people,
maybe
reach out to him, just be like, are you gonna hurt me? But no.
That works.
Straight away.
Drone. Yeah. The guy in charge of like the Iranian Air Force said we were absolutely prepared for a fully fledged war. Like they were ready to go.
They were so prepared. Everyone was prepared. I think Donald Trump wanted to.
Yeah, really?
I think he wanted World War III. Because I think in his head he thought, I could beat him. And then imagine if he became down the president now. Won. This World War III.
Nobody wins wars, do they? I mean, yeah, they did, but like...
And then all of a sudden it's back round to November, we've got the new presidential debate, voting. He's got this new thing under his belt. He's ready for term 2.
Yeah, that would have been... Oh, God, yeah.
I just remember looking at my phone, the British BBC news report, and thinking, oh shit, literally could have been anyone on that flight. Yeah. Anyone.
It was a passenger plane, yeah, it wasn't like a military plane or anything.
Yeah. And I just, I don't know, I think because there was a lot of emotions when I first got there, and I had the generic panic attack of what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. And I just read that as well, and I was just like, terrified, thinking, who knows?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what else can I say? It's those poor people are tragic, so tragic.
And obviously, I think the majority of them were Canadian passengers. So obviously, Justin Trudeau had stuff to say. Mm-hmm. And I've got 2 quotes here, which I've been waiting to tell, which is one quote from Justin Trudeau, and then one quote from Donald Trump. And I feel like it just puts them in their place in terms of their intelligence level.
Yeah.
So Justin Trudeau, and these are all in both their own words. So Trudeau said, it was likely brought down by an Iranian missile, but it may well have been unintentional. So he's not saying anything outright, he's just stating there's some facts. Trump said, and this is genuinely word for word, the plane was flying through a rough neighbourhood, and someone may have made a mistake. And even talking about where the responsibility lies, the plane crash happened, and without anyone accusing Iran was like, oh, it wasn't us. We didn't say it was you.
No.
So, and then 4 days later, experts, like, they got intelligence and stuff, and they were like, oh, it was Iran that launched it.
I think a lot was still happening under the lines after this, and I reckon if it wasn't for COVID as well, I reckon more stuff could have kicked off.
Well, yeah, is that the thinnest silver line on the darkest cloud? Like, that is, yeah. Sad that we need a pandemic to stop a war. There's another story in January that, I'll be honest, wasn't front page news.
No, because this story you see these adverts so much in newspapers, online, they are taking over our lives so much, and we don't really notice them anymore.
Yeah.
But it is seriously affecting some people.
Oh, it's horrendous. So this is basically a story, but I'll be honest, we only found because we were doing research for this episode.
100%.
So a report on the 2nd January, because we're not doing things in order, like, why the fuck would we do that? We've gone from the 8th to the 6th, but we're going backwards.
We're doing it within these 2 weeks.
So yeah, not in order. So on the 2nd, there was a report obtained, I think, primarily by The Guardian, but then obviously other papers pick it up. And it showed how much betting companies rely on VIP schemes. So do you know what VIP schemes are on betting companies?
No.
So basically, if all three of us were big gamblers on a betting website, and we put the same amount of money in, but like you two kept on winning, but I kept on losing. But if I spent more, I would be entitled to a VIP scheme. So they target people who lose more, and they give them special treatment. So I've lost more, so I'll get emails being like, oh, here's a free £10 bet to entice them in more, and they do it to people who are losing. So it was a massive report. I can't go into too much detail about the report, but it was crazy. But one of the stats I pulled out, you really have to get your head around this. So one company, in 1 year, took 83% of all the deposits on just 2% of its customers. So when you think about that, that is a crazy amount of money. And these people are obviously more likely to be addicts. And I think in the last year, I was actually watching the news last night, and it said about people gambling more in lockdown and stuff like that. It is a horrendous lifestyle if you go the wrong way. There are people who, do well and like who can manage it. Like I occasionally, I don't know if you two ever, but bets on you to bingo.
I do bingo with my mum.
Oh, I love that.
I love doing bingo with my mum.
That's so good.
That's because and the other things like you buy a scratch card here or there, but bingo's my guilty pleasure. Like I've never been to a casino, or I think I put 10,000 on online casino once.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Do you?
I have never. It's just never been something that's interested me. But my family each Christmas, we always have on Christmas Day, like a bucket with some bets in that my granddad's gone and got at the bookies, and or Chris. And then, Boxing Day, they have the football matches.
Yeah.
There'll be bets for that on like ridiculous odds. And we all just have to pick one at random, and then we all like sit and watch it. And
that's quite
it's actually really fun,
nice, yeah.
because like 1 year I like cashed in great, and it was just really fun times. But personally, I've never done it. My family do though.
So. But we're talking about people who are like, would wake up at 2 a.m. and they like actually get a fix off of doing it.
It's such a severe problem where it's just the adrenaline of seeing that
just chasing the money,
roulette wheel spinning, and the chance of you wanting, and suddenly I could land on that number and I could win £600,000.
The thing was online betting, like if I was to do it, I'd bet on football. Things are out of my hands and out of the hands of the computer. But going online casino, that's just I can't get my head that is definitely fixed. 100%. There's no way they can do that freely. There's got to be a system that does it. So surely these people must know that.
They must know that for like every £20 this customer spends, every £20 spends, we're going to give them £10 or something back. Yeah. This kind of thing, so they're always 100% profiting. But like something that I found in one of the research projects is that it's become one of the biggest like problems that is so underlying at the moment that research suggests that under 500,000 people who've got gambling problems have got debt, depression, family breakdowns and such like that. But it also suggests that companies who are there to help people with gambling problems are supported by gambling companies.
Yeah.
So it's this vicious cycle
Yeah.
of helping them get better, putting them back into the gambling system.
Betting companies put that thing on like, what is it, like, please be gamble aware, and like, what is it? When the fun stops, stop. Yeah, when the fun stops,
Yeah.
stop. You watch a betting advert, that will come up for like a split second just at the end, because by law they have to do it.
Yeah.
So there's a board, the Gambling Commission's board, and they overview everything, and they will give betting companies fines. I mean, it can't hurt them too much. It will give them fines if they are unable to stop gambling problems. So like if they haven't put a cap on certain people's deposit, weekly deposit stuff. But 7 out of 10 times that the VIP thing is a factor, and that, like, surely this has to, like, the idea of someone losing loads of money, it's the equivalent of someone losing loads of money, and someone going, do you want to go again, I'll give you a free £10 if you give me another 40 quid, like, it's just, yeah.
I really struggle to understand, because, you know, smoking, drinking, all of it is basically fed off people's addiction. And they are heavily penalised now in many ways, especially smoking. Smoking's just been completely torn down in so many ways. Like, there's no advertising, there's no colour branding, there's no any of it. Whereas alcohol obviously still does, but then gambling just, yes, it says 3 words at the end of an advert, but it just slides under the net so often, and just it's sick that they profit off people's sickness.
It says here, the online gambling betting firm that Ray Winster won, its boss is the highest paid chief executive of a British company after being paid in 1 year 424 million.
Jesus.
That's
insane.
Oh my word. That guy was
That's a
paid.
good night out.
Oh my, corporate filings show that they paid a 363 million salary plus dividends. That was in 2018. So it's only gone up this year with what's happened.
Yeah, lockdown and stuff, had an impact of gambling, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I've I've chased a few losses occasionally, but it's never been like, oh, wake up, me to. Yeah, never. I do have. I have an account. I haven't used it in a while because people who are in my football fantasy league will know that I'm doing shit this season. I'm not winning. Have you heard? Oh, fuck you, John. Fuck you, John. And I'll be honest. Every time I pick a player, they do really well, and I think, I'll pick them for next week because I'll do well again, and they don't, and it annoys me. I mean, that one, the one with John in it, hasn't got a cash prize.
Okay.
I mean, another one that has got a cash prize. It's really big because there's loads of us in it, and I'm 18th, and there's 20 of us. I'm not doing very well. So yeah, that's why. Because if I was to transform that mindset into betting, I'd lose. I haven't used my betting account in ages.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've got just building up on the point of it being during the lockdown as well. I also kind of feel like another major thing that is never kind of looked at is like a shopping addiction as well, because how major Amazon has just profited on this lockdown. You know what I mean? And no one talks about that either. Like the amount of money people have spent on Amazon.
You don't want to support it, but at the same time, it's so convenient.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't be able to do this today if it wasn't for Amazon.
So that concludes everything, but pretty much not everything, but the big events that happened this time last year in 2020.
Please don't.
I think that's all that happened.
Spam me with being like, you forgot this, you forgot this. We know we forgot this. If you want to listen to a 5-hour version, we will do it for you. We won't, because this is just enough. We covered the things that interested us and the things that dominated people's lives, I think.
Key things.
We might forget something, but it's fine.
Of course.
So yeah. So thank you for giving us
Thank you very much.
a better insight into the Australian fires and the weekend of we had.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
That's all right. Right. So obviously, Caitlin's Instagram and website is down below if you want to check out more of the artwork that you saw earlier. And you do commissions?
Yeah, so this year I thought I was going to be in Australia, so I kind of took a step away from selling for a time, but I do work on commission as well if anyone's interested. But I have prints and everything, so if anyone's interested in the work I've done, and you've got all the photos as well of what these guys have seen today, so you can have a look at those again. Check out my website.
There's also I've seen some pet portraits.
Oh, I do a lot of pet portraits. Who doesn't love it?
Adorable.
Pet portrait.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks guys.
Right, lovely. That was a good first episode.
That was a great first episode.
Nicely done. Learned a lot. Interesting to hear about Australian experiences from someone who's actually there.
It was a whole new insight.
Yeah, very lovely. Yeah, good times well. But basically, what we're going to end with here is we thought we'd try and recommend something to each other at the end of every episode. So what we've done, we've realised that we've got slightly different music tastes.
There's some moments that I think we definitely
There's a bit of an overlap. But
yeah, like music you'd get in clubs. We kind of both agree with that. We both have some kind of interest with that.
Yeah, I would say some kind of interest, not an
But then kind of sitting in your bedroom music, I think we both got.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to recommend every episode. We're going to take it in turns recommending an album to the other person, and obviously not knowing what it is. I really hope that you haven't heard this one. I've got this one on vinyl, so this is going to be a lovely little present. This is not my favourite album by him, but it is one of the best. Okay. So it's Heroes by David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Obviously you've heard of David Bowie. Obviously.
Bowie.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go Bowie.
Heroes, and you obviously know the song Heroes.
Yes.
Cool. This is on there, bizarrely. This is unbelievable. This is the second. Oh, I really haven't got that right. This is the second in his Berlin trilogy. I really hope I've got that
If
right.
not,
I think
you look wrong.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm committed to it. It's the second one. Don't care what you say. And yeah, I don't know how you would listen to this. I think you probably listen to this. I listen to it when walking somewhere. I listened to it walking here today, actually.
That's the kind of song I imagine warming up to, like for class, or It's like a very a song where I'm like going to pump myself up for something.
I would say Heroes is the odd one out on this album, along with Sense of Doubt, because I'll be honest, Sense of Doubt is just David Bowie smashing instruments together, and it's working, to be honest.
I just want to clarify, I have listened to David Bowie before and I do know who he is.
So what we're suggesting is that I don't think you've ever sat down and listened to one album.
No, I don't have any David Bowie songs on my albums.
Okay, cool.
On Spotify.
Well, it's not cool, but yeah.
But I have listened to David Bowie before.
Please.
But I will listen to it all. I'll bring back my reviews.
Oh yeah, so at the end of it, so we'll talk about this one as well as you giving one to me. Yeah,
I'm
glad you've never listened to it. That would have been a wasted first episode.
And then I think maybe at the end of all the series we'll conclude which we think's the best album.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Well, but we'll do it.
We're starting off strong. We could put it on one big playlist. That's the end of the first episode.
That is the end of the first episode.
We got there. Social distance high five. Okay, so we're back in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks time with some more conversations about very different things.
About events that happened that time last year.
Right, that's the outro. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Look, I'm just trying to find the bright side, honey.